Hello, this is Reverend Paul Jakes, and I'm welcoming you to New Tabernacle of Faith Baptist Church and the Love in Action program tonight. We have with us a very special person whom I have really got to know. I've had an opportunity to read a couple of her books, and tonight she's our special guest, Reverend Wanda Jenkins. It's never easy sharing a story about grief and your pain, but we will have a family, if they're able to come on camera, to share some of their story as well. Thank you for being with us, and we welcome you to Love in Action. God bless you. This is Reverend Paul Jakes, New Tabernacle of Faith Baptist Church, and the Love in Action program, and we are back with a very, very courageous and strong couple who has decided to allow us to minister to them, along with our special guest expert, Reverend Wanda Jenkins, who is with Vitas. She's the manager of bereavement services, and I'm glad that we have with us Derek Ellis and Francis Ellis, and both of them experienced in March of 2017, matter of fact. And here we are now in March of 2018. I'm prayerful for them. I want to welcome you to the program. Thank you. Thank you, Francis, and thank you, Derek.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. You had already began talking with our expert about the experience of your father.
Sure.
What did you feel? What did you go through with that? And continue.
Well, I'm 52 years old now, but again, I lost my dad. He was murdered when I was around 21, but I had just become a born-again Christian at the time, and I was living in my own apartment, and it was on Christmas Day, actually. And my mentor was, at the time, was Apostle Clifford Eternal Liberty Temple. And of course, he has transitioned as well.
Yeah.
But at the
Some
time,
folks that look like okay, go ahead.
Great man. At the time, I was a young man doing typical things that young men do. I mean, I had my encounters with the use of drugs and things like that, but a friend of mine invited me over to his church, and I went. And even though I came from a very religious family, because my uncles were pastors, my cousins were pastors, so I had a background. Even my mom, who died of cancer when I was probably in 7th grade, was an actual minister as well, but I had the background. And that was not just on my father's side, I mean, my mom's side, it was mother and father. So I came from a strong religious family. But at that time, in that day, in 1999, I forget it, I went to Liberty Temple and I heard God speaking to me for the first time in my life. From that dimension to change my life, from then to now, I've never been the same. So later on in life, around 21, my father was murdered traveling through Kankakee, and he picked up a hitchhiker, and he was murdered. But again, they found the guy, so they said again, but there was no justification of that to me. But I had learned to deal with that. So I thought, really, till today, listen to some things that you would understand. Because again, sometimes we can suppress stuff, and then it doesn't surface until the right. It's like the Holy Spirit. You could be. Sometimes you wonder, why is this individual saved and committed to God? This person don't get it because it falls where it will when you accept it. And once you accept it, you get the results of what you have accepted. So sometimes it's the right person with the right tone, with the right mannerism to get you to the next level of that healing process. So I appreciate that.
To God be the glory. I think what's amazing is that it's not surprising because in 1999 they still weren't always really feeling and things like that. But I think that what needed more important to you at that time was your soul, and God was taking care of your soul, that your inner man and building you up. And so sometimes I believe that God gives us protective cover to keep us from dealing with something so that we can get to where He wants us, so that we're empowered, so we can do it.
I understand.
Yeah.
I sure suppressed it. And I've been empowered.
Oh, Holy Spirit helped you to keep it there because you weren't ready for that. But now you are.
Sure.
Now you are.
Thank you.
How many years have you been married?
It'll be 5 this year, August.
Already? And how old was your son?
Actually, he was 33 when he got killed.
Okay.
He was celebrating a friend's birthday. He was at a club. And he was celebrating
What's his name?
Charles.
Charles. Okay.
Yes. And he was celebrating a friend's birthday right 6 blocks from non-for-profit. He got killed down on Chicago Avenue in Chicago. So, and
A lot of tears since that time.
it's like when I start talking about it, I'll be okay until I start talking about it, because then it all starts just coming up. Just like even bad sound, sometimes it just comes up.
Well, one of the reasons that we were involved to even come tonight, because I initiated a call to my cousin pertaining to you, because I had saw a news clipping and I actually saw you on the news, and I knew you were in our area, and we are providing things for the young people in the community, and a lot of times, like I was saying, to get a voice when you're unknown from Christendom, for people to accept you and embrace you, you have to have a forerunner or a voice or someone to open up a door for you. So I knew my cousin, Pastor Michael Washington, and he called you, and I thank you for receiving my call.
That's my friend. Yeah.
And then you said what you were doing tonight. And then when you said that, I said, well, that may be good for my wife, because I know we're approaching that year marker, and not much has been done in the natural, so we think the police haven't said anything. She's been going through her ritual grieving process, but yet sometimes maybe even thinking that I don't understand, and all that we do in our own understanding, which is really nothing none of us can do. It's a process that the individual has to go through. So when you said that, I said I would talk to her, which I did. And she had a previous engagement, but we canceled that when we came here. That's why we did you.
Well, thank you for doing that. And hopefully tonight we can share possibly some techniques. And I do have some numbers that, with the Attorney General's office. I actually asked them to come tonight to provide whatever services they could. But if not, the Holy Spirit is already here. And so, Reverend Wanda?
Well, I just want to tell you that your wife is right. You don't understand what she's going through. And guess what? That's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. My husband had cancer. I didn't know what he was going through. As a nurse, technically, yeah. But as a person, I wasn't feeling his feelings. I wasn't inside his body, He was feeling what he was feeling. So what I learned to do is close my mouth and say, well, tell me what's going on. And so, the invitation to you is to help them understand what you're going through. Sometimes when we're hurting, we have to teach people how to help us. Does that make sense?
It does. Because there are days every day that I wake up in my bedroom, I'm looking out the window, and it's like at like I think we got the call like 2:37 in the morning. And when I got the call, I sat up in the bed, and God was like, it's gonna be a long day, take a shower. But they had just told me, and my son was shot. So why would I want to take a shower? And I did what
God told you
Yeah.
to do.
So I took a shower and everything, and got there. It took them so many. It seemed like it took a whole other day for them to tell us that he was gone. They had us sit in the waiting room, just waiting, and I'm talking to everybody because that's who I am, and always being this strong little woman. And I cry every day because at the funeral, I mean, God just did so much amazing things for this homegoing, because it wasn't really a celebration because he was taken.
Right.
But the homegoing, as far as like making sure that the people understood, sure as you live, you're going to transition, but you can go sooner than you're supposed to me, right? And with me seeing what was going to happen that day, the way that God was laying the day out, that I had to comfort everybody else but myself. I didn't understand it, but I respected what God said. And when they came and told me, everybody in the room just broke down and went crazy. And I was like, what is it that I'm supposed to do? So I walked outside, because we was in Mount Sinai. I walked outside and I sat on the bench, and something came out of me like a yearning to scream into the mountains, and I screamed, and I'm seeing the people on the bus, but I couldn't stop, and I was going crazy for a minute. But then something grabbed a hold of me and said, that's enough. I go back in, and I'm like, what is going on? I kept on experiencing all these moments, and I was like, this is my son, I want to cry some more. I said, no, go back in. But every day, I get up, and I get up with this energy, and then I look around the house, and I say to myself, I got to make a difference. Because now it's all about me making a difference in the community and talking more stronger about it, because most people, he was my only son, and most people would have thought that I wouldn't have been able to handle it. And there are moments like I've been spending time with my family, we go bowling, and I could see my son talking crazy, and we bowling and stuff, and then I sit, and I try not to let people see, because a tear will fall down, because I'm like, I'm missing him, but it's just weird.
But see, that's the fact, is that you are missing him. And that is why you cry, because you miss him. When I cry every day, it's because I miss my husband. You know, I miss the conversation, I miss the laughter, I miss him telling me what to do. You know, telling me that's not the way to think, Wanda. Because he was a let us pray man. Everything had to have prayer. And sometimes I would say, well, can we talk about it first? No, let us pray. But the point I'm saying is that every day you miss him. And every day you're debriefing yourself a little bit at a time and allowing yourself. Maybe some days you cry heavier than others, and then other days it's just a quick cry, and that's it for the day. And you going forward. But then the fact that you want to help others, it begins with yourself. You know, giving yourself permission to be okay with the tears. Okay, you're not going crazy. It's normal. It's natural. It's what you should be doing. But also engaging your husband into the process with you and allowing him to share what that missing of your son means to him. That's important. I would just, you know, this is a Christian program, so I guess like I said, but because y'all are married, it's more important than making love that y'all share this screen, because it'll make love better. Take my word for it, it will. Because you have to engage, and everything about you is emotion. And so you have to share those emotions so you don't block the ones that count.
That is a good thought, but I'm going to add this to the equation, because I'm sure you may not have known this, but this is something people, particularly for the audience that's listening and looking as well. because it was her, as she mentioned, baby, a biological son. But for me, it was not. So sometimes, too, people think the disconnect, because, well, he wasn't your son. Not that she feels this way, but you don't care the way I care. You don't feel the way I feel. Then, too, prior to us getting married, you had 4 children prior to us coming together. So now I have 4 children alone outside of her. You still have what you care or love. And not to say that she's even thinking that, but I'm sure that that could be a thought that the enemy could use to create a blockage of information and communication based upon those kinds of principles being in place.
You're right, and that's why you have to talk. And she's felt that. She's felt that you didn't feel like you could really understand because you still got yours and hers is gone. Because you only had 1 and you had 4.
Yeah,
but you have to think, but you have to realize anything that's yours is hers, and anything that was hers is yours. And that is one of the problems that a lot of step parents experience, is that the biological parent feels like, oh, there's no way that you could possibly enter into what I am. But the fact that your dad was murdered puts you in a unique position to understanding what it means to have someone taken from you.
And I heard you in the first segment when you were talking pertaining to this is not a right or wrong, but this is how it applies to you.
Right.
And likewise, I am a very different, unique person pertaining to how I feel, what I think, and how I am as a person. So even though I lost my dad, murdered, shot in the head on Christmas Day, even though I lost my mom, died of cancer in 7th grade, the first time I had a job, came back home, they told me she had died. So I used to tell the story that I was raised by wolves because I didn't have the true nurturing of my mother and father at that time, and it threw me to the streets. But that being said, I developed a tough skin. So sometimes, and plus my father being a disciplinary, because of that, sometimes people can misunderstand my rational or my commitment to what I feel and think, because it may be seeming to be harsh, as they say.
Practical.
I'm the harsh person. I mean, I speak. You hear that second tone behind my voice. It's something there.
Okay, deep. So you want to know what my family called me? The warden.
Oh, I got that too.
Yeah, I'm the warden. You know, and when I came back here 20 years ago, I said the warden is dead. You know, but that's what it took to help raise 9 kids.
I get it.
Discipline. You had to just do what you had to do. But what I am saying is that you're right. It puts you in a. This is what it does. It helps you to block all that pain. It helped you to suppress the pain because you had learned to do that at 14 years old. You had learned to do that. That's how you survive. That's what survival means. Survival is the least. It's just the ground level of humanity. And when you got born again, God brought you just a step above survival. You know, maybe you started to thrive a little bit. But what he wants us to do is be alive. He wants us to live. And to live, if you think about love, it means everything that you are, your pain, your sorrow, your suffering, all of that has to be addressed. All of that has to be embraced. Purpose-filled life, all of that has to be embraced for you to do what you have to do. And you have to say yes. Derek, there are times I feel you couldn't possibly understand what I'm going through because this was my baby. I carried him. I did this. But all he needs to do is hear what you're feeling. He doesn't need to be challenged that he doesn't feel it. He just needs to be told, baby, this is what I'm feeling right now. This is what my soul is feeling right now.
You know, you're saying some good things because we've been a nurturer. I'm in the school system, and I've been in the school system since 2004. And I do the soft skills, and I talk with the young ladies in the CPS schools and deal with the young men as well. And one of the things is that I knew at one point that I was going to be loving on a whole lot of young people, but I didn't know my only was going to be taken.
You're the barren woman that has many children. That's what the scripture calls for.
Yes.
Now, I share this with you. I couldn't have children. When I was 23, right after my mother was murdered, I had a total hysterectomy because I was hemorrhaging all the time. And when I met my husband, one of the things I told him, I said, if you want children from your own Lord, I'm not the woman you want to hook up with because I can't have no children. He said, we can adopt. So we adopted, and we have a son and a daughter. But the bottom line is that there are a lot of kids, because I worked in the school system and stuff, and the kids I've dealt with who had lost loved ones to murder. That barren woman, that's for real. You can really have everything.
Yes.
And even if your ability, or like, I can't look in anyone's face and say they look like me or anything like that, they look like Sam, because that didn't happen.
Understand.
But yet people look at my kids and say, that girl really looks like you. That girl 5'10", I'm 5'4", really. But she loves it. She loves the fact that people say she looks like me. What it is, she's adapted and she practices the behaviors, unfortunately, like me. You know, she picked up the raw side of me. But what I'm saying is that you can be, and see, this is the point. You can be a step parent, but be a real parent.
Yes.
You know, step, I hate that word. I like the word second. You know, and in our case, the records were open, and now my kids know their biological family. When we went to Philadelphia for my husband's second funeral, because that's where he was from, and I took him back home because his mom is alive, it was so many people. My kids' mothers came to see me. They just wanted to thank me over and over again for what we did with the kids. They had met my husband. And what I'm saying is that, and then their brothers and sisters and stuff, well, we're your children too. And I thought, Jesus, I didn't ask for all of this. You know, but what I'm saying is that when you have a heart of love and you really have a heart of compassion, yeah, the worst thing that could have happened to your son. He was murdered. But he had a mom who loved him, and a second father who loved him. And nobody can take that away. That doesn't pacify you, it's not meant to. And it will, you know, cause your heart to hurt. And you're coming up on an anniversary. The only thing I can say about that is sometimes as you go towards an anniversary, the anticipation could be worse than the actual day. You have to decide what you want to do on that day. You have to decide how do you want to live out March the 17th, 2 weeks from now on Saturday. What do you want to do with that day that's going to commemorate and celebrate your son's life? That's your choice. Last year you were forced. This year you got a choice.
You know, he did leave me some grandkids.
All righty then.
Yeah, and we have one that he is something else. The first holiday after Charles had got killed, I think it was Labor Day. Is that Labor Day? September. It was September.
Okay.
And we were in my aunt's backyard, and everybody was there, and I kept looking at the gate for Charles to come in, because he always coming in late, talking loud, and everybody just loved him because he was such a great person. And my grandbaby, he was only 2. My grandbaby, he's only 2. And he started dancing and acting like my son. So at first, I was really enjoying him. But then something was hitting me, hit my stomach. I was like, Eric, we gotta go. I got his attention. I said, I need to go, because I didn't want to take away from everything that was going on. But I got out of there, but my aunt caught me, and everybody's sad, and everybody turned to me, and I'm just one of those people who, I'm not trying to be, take away from the party or the good time. Let me just slip them out and let them have fun. But everybody's just waiting for me to break, like, she's too strong, and I'm just like, every day, like you say, a little piece of me is.
That's why you have to articulate to people. You have to let people know that, no. I have people like on my Facebook page, they write and say, oh, you're such a strong woman of God, you're this, that, and the other. And I told them, no, I'm not strong. And I really told people, stop.
Yes.
I'm not strong. What I am is leaning on the everlasting arms of Jesus. That's what I am. But like everybody else, I'm on.
Because they say, it's okay to cry. And I say, it's going to be in time, At the funeral, they said I stood the whole time. I think it was in almost 3 hours. They said I stood the whole time, and it was so beautiful. The young people respected. Well, you know how they normally wear the T-shirts and stuff. But my husband and us, we asked them not to. They came in dressed, and it was just for that day. I accepted what had happened. I'm never gonna forget it or just forget about it, but I had accepted the fact that I have to do something for God, and through this here, I gotta let people see that God is real, And yes, I could be running across, but I've seen funerals where people run and fall out and crying. And I just didn't want to be that type of person because it just, and I was thinking there's something wrong with me because I'm looking and
No,
seeing
let me tell you, I've never been in a funeral where I did that. Not even I had 2 funerals for him. I didn't do that. Because number one, that's not who I am. And so I don't need to perform for you, and you don't need to perform for anybody. I'm a child of God. And God strengthens us with might by his spirit on the inside. And you know, that man up there, that body in the casket that represented my husband, believed in God. And so my nephew, who is very tough and has been a gangbanger, came to me after the funeral and said, I couldn't even cry. He said it was so beautiful. The Lord was so rich in there because he's Christian now. He said I couldn't even cry until we took his casket to the hearse. He said that's the only time a tear came out. He said because it was just so glorifying God. That is how a Christian's funeral ought to be. That is how a Christian family should be. That doesn't mean you don't cry. You know. And then part of what we talked about in the earlier segment, there is a shock. There is I call it a blessed assurance anesthesia from God that causes you to be able to function and to focus and think on, I want some young people here to get saved. Right. I want some people to know about Jesus. Because in everything we do in thought, word, or deed, we need to be doing it to glorify Jesus. Even in our grief. Grief is not an excuse not to give God the glory. I mean, they're not Jesus hanging on the cross. Did he not say, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do? Did he not say, into your hands I commend my spirit, it is finished? And he did all of that for us so that we could do it for somebody else. Because we are created in his image and our goal is to model him. And we can do it in grief. That doesn't mean that we don't feel pain. That doesn't mean, but I believe that when you grieve, you need to grieve in a safe environment. You need to be with people who are hurting and share and then find your solace in one another and in God. But in God, in one another. Okay?
Here's a question for you. Because particularly in this day and time that we're living in, and you see all kinds of shrines, like you see the guy that's making all the crosses, and he's putting them at, you know, the situation where people have died. You see the street young people taking wine bottles and liquor bottles and making shrines. You see bikes. If someone gets hit by a bike, they make the bike a shrine. You know, you see all these different ways that people think it's a part of grieving. Back in the day of Cooley High, remember he poured out some for the ones that wasn't here. So we pick up these things that God never told us, but yet society accepts. So then we begin to mimic and model these things as if it's just something to do. What do you think about that?
Well, first, especially when you're talking about the younger generation, is their outpouring of their grief. That's what I think about it. It's, I don't think they're worshiping it or any of that. I think that is just their way. At least they're not hiding their pain. Now, we don't want them to start worshiping nothing like that and thinking there's something to that. You know, that's not okay. You know, but it's our society, and instead of like when we were teenagers and somebody died, we did exactly what the grown people did. We took our grief and did this. Like you're 21, what did you do? You stuffed it. And now today you realize that it's something you have to address. And they're not stuffing it. They're putting it out there with their bottles and whatever their life is. I think it's okay. I think it's okay as long as you don't make it a, like you say, it's kind of a shrine, but as long as you don't make it a place of worship.
Well, the reason I brought it up on that level because I'm gonna add more to it.
Okay.
Even pertaining to some of the deaths of the young people, they're putting them in, you know, showcases and things like that. So the deaths today, as opposed to yesterday, are totally different.
Yeah.
It's almost like we're grandiosing the way that the young person dies, as opposed to really having. Back in my day, you know, we put on a suit coat, which is different. I understand times have changed, and we went to church, and then we grieve a certain way and whatnot. It has changed.
You know, I'm smiling because we had several funerals at our church last year, and one of them was a young lady who died. And when our family and everybody came to the funeral, I mean, it was blue jeans and t-shirts and stuff like that. My husband, he said, what is wrong with these people? Why? He said, coming in here looking like that. And I said, Sam, that's the way they do it. That's all I could say. That's the way they do it. And I am a bit more accepting of how people do it, but I know what you're saying. They're aggrandizing death. They're making it like it's something beautiful. And when murder is not beautiful. When death is not, death is not beautiful. It's not beautiful. It's the final assault on the human body. No matter how a person dies, it's the final assault. It's that which ends life and prayerfully returns a person back to God. But we also got to remember that just because a person died doesn't make them a saint, and everybody don't R.I.P. Everybody don't rest in peace.
Yeah. Well, I look at sometimes even in the Old Testament where the word was scarce, as the Bible would say, that people did what was right in their own minds.
Mm-hmm.
And then before the reality of the word was revealed, when a prophet came upon the land to reveal God's word again, I feel that's what we're doing now. We're just doing what we want to do that is right in our own eyes. We don't have no judgment. We don't have no consideration. We don't have no standard. We don't have anything except what we have gravitated to because of what we see. Mm-hmm. And then too, because of that, from generation to generation, it's like it's getting worse. It's perpetuating.
You're absolutely correct. And that's why murder itself and the kind of deaths that young people are dying today, many of these young people don't expect to live to be 21 or 18
That's right.
or anything like that. And unfortunately for some of them, their parents aren't that much older than them. And I mean, think about it. Your son was 33, but some people at 33 are losing a child was 25 or 20, 13 years younger, maybe even less than that. And so how does a child raise a child? They don't. And they just perpetuate that. The ignorance is perpetuated, the loss is perpetuated, it becomes almost like a generational curse. But see, that's our fault. If those of us who love the Lord Jesus Christ don't stand up for what's right, then it's on us. If we go along with mess, then it gets messier. It don't get better. And so that's on us. We need to say, murder is horrible. No one should have to die like this. It's not your plight in life. It's not of your divine destiny to be a murder victim. The only divine destiny for someone to be a murder victim was crucified on the cross at Calvary for our salvation, so none of us would have to go through that. That's the truth.
I understand.
Reverend Jakes is back, so it must mean.
Well, I wanted to deal with something that a lot of families don't know about, to inform them about the victim impact statement. You've helped a lot of families do that, and I wanted to let people know what it is. What is it?
Well, first, the Victims of Crime Act believes that families of innocent victims should be compensated if needed for their crimes. And part of this is also giving voice to the victims of violence. And voice is found in the victim impact statement. And it's really a way of standing before your perpetrator or the person who's, you only do this when they've been convicted of a crime, and letting them know what their crime actually did to you and your family. What did they take away from you? You probably saw it in the Emmanuel 9 when they were talking about their trial and people got up and talked about the murder. Victim impact statements can be very emotional. Some of them can be almost ungodly. And then some of them.
I'm sorry, I think I'm seeing that too. I don't know if it applies as well, but the young gymnastic girls, I'm noticing you get up to tell how that made them feel, and that person was in the actual courtroom experiencing that. So is that a part of it?
Yeah, the victim impact statement is meant to make that person understand what they actually did to you, and it's usually done before their sentence is imposed on them.
Sure.
I served on a committee once for a university in Philadelphia, and we went to the maximum security prison there with 6 women, and they were what we call surrogate victims. And the idea was to talk with a group of criminals and to share with them what their crime what each crime was that they were talking about and how it affected their life. And all of these women were mothers whose sons had been murdered, and there had never been anyone arrested. So they were surrogates, and these criminals, in a sense, were surrogates too, because they were hearing about how it affected those persons' lives. And in that room of criminals, only one of them, I think, really had a transformation, because you saw it. You saw it. It was so very clear. And I remember one guy said, well, it's like you're not forgiving. I said, it's not about forgiveness, my dear. I said, what we're here to do is to tell you what your crime did. Forgiving you, I can offer you my forgiveness, but I can never offer you pardon, because only God can do that. I said, but forgiving doesn't mean that I accept what you did. Or forget what you did. What it means is I release myself from the burden of carrying your sin. That's what it means. You know. And I mean, a lot of people don't like to hear that, but that's just the truth. I have nothing against you.
You're a man of God. Scripture says, vengeance is mine, said the Lord. Have you received that scripture?
Yes, I don't, you know, as a younger man, I've had my ways, but again, once I received the Holy Spirit of God pertaining to that type of retaliation, that is not within me. Because I do understand that ultimately, every soul will come to the Lord with the soul that sinned shall surely die. And hopefully that person will also at some point recognize he or she wrongs and commit themselves unto the Lord for forgiveness. Like you said, there's nothing I can do for them.
Right, you know, that's the reality. What I can do for them is what I did for my mother's mother. Pray for them, that they might be saved, and that they might come to know the Lord Jesus Christ as their personal Savior, and one day be in heaven also. And that's the hard part about murder. Somebody can be murdered and they are not saved, and that their murderer can get saved and go to heaven, and they lost their chance because of that person.
I understand.
And that's a heck of a thing when you think about it. But it's true, and that's why our young people need to know that now is the day of salvation. You know, and repent.
Anger. Have you felt it?
Actually, I felt it, and it just goes away so fast because of the spirit and how God just holds me through everything. Even when my mom transitioned in 2013, and she died, and it was like I just understood, and sometimes I say I thank you, God, for giving me this understanding where I have that grace and mercy. And, you know, I got saved in 2003, and my life has changed. You know, I'm still crazy, but it's like it's in a good way, and I just really love God, and even through seeing my son laying on the table, and it only took me a moment, and that's why I was like kind of weird. It only took me a moment to understand this and go to the next thing, like, okay, what's next and what's next, and even like every day I get up, what's next, God, because I'm just excited about what God has for my life, even through the transition of my mother, my son, my sister. It's like, what's next?
See, and that's the key right there, is that the most important thing we have to accept is that death, murder, suicide, accidents, they're all part of the circle of life.
Yes.
And we don't get to escape the circle of life. And so that we can get in that circle and do those things that God promises us, which is to forgive, to trust in the Lord with all our heart and lean not to our own understanding, and to do what you guys came here to do today, to get some information out to people, to be creative and refocus your attention, but also to allow yourself to experience even deeper healing than you're already beginning to feel. And to be able to address things and see, because you can believe there are a lot of men who are not talking about what they really feel. And then you want to help them not to feel, not to express it in such a way that it's just anger and road rage, and you know, because alcoholism, drugs, addictions, they come from empty spaces, places where people have not been feeling. And so they feel it with those things in the same way I filled mine with food.
You know, even with you talking, like some people say, Francis, you need to take off work and don't do this, don't do that. And I was like, I don't want to lay in the bed, or I don't want to do certain things. Or people try to force the disappointment and the sadness on you. And I have my moments, I say, and they come, and when they come, I embrace it and I handle it. But I just don't care for when people don't hear you and they want to hear themselves, and they, you know, it's okay for you to do this, it's okay for you to cry, it's okay for you, Francis, to do this and that. And I'm like, no, I'm doing exactly what I want to do. And then in the interim of everything, I see what I have to do. It's not even me all the time. Even with my husband, sometimes I'm talking, but I'm not talking, right? And I forget things, and I'm like, wow, is this a part of that healing process? Because I could, it's an oldness, I don't know, but you know, sometimes you could be talking and you really forget, and I'm like, am I experiencing something?
That's part of grief, though.
Okay.
Part of grief is that you have so much focus on what's happening in your life that some things are almost incidentals that you just don't really, you know, want to hold on to, or that's just not important at that point.
Some of that stuff she was doing before that. So.
Okay, so that's just an excuse, huh? Well, but what I'm saying is that we don't really change a lot from who we really are, even in grief. We are who we are. If you're a person, let me put it this way, if you're the person in the movie that everybody can hear, you'll be the person at your funeral that everybody can hear. You know, I have a sister that she's good for wanting to jump in the grave, and I said, leave her. They're dead, not me. You know, I mean, that's just my...
You got a great sense of humor. That's helpful. That is.
Believe
it helps.
me, her books are very helpful, and I've enjoyed it. And I want to thank you both for sharing really a testimony. Is there something that you want to say to fathers, and is there something you want to say to mothers? You can look right in that camera right there.
I'll let her go first.
What I would like to say for mothers who truly have lost a son or daughter through violence is that don't be angry. What it is that stand up and make a statement that will represent God. And for being in this world, we have to understand what we're supposed to be doing while we're here. And I realized that I was only the vessel for my son to get here. And I'm glad that God gave me the 33 years with him. But I do not want to be angry. Even with the person who has killed my son, I want to see him and hug him, because how I feel this day is that I want to forgive, and I want to let him know that I forgive him for what he did to my son. I want to forgive him. I really do.
I will piggyback on the statement that my wife made about being a vessel, because ultimately we all belong to God, and we have a responsibility to nurture children and individuals until they come of age, and then release them back unto the Lord. And most time we try to cling on to kids, mothers, fathers, uncles, whatever, and then when they transition for whatever reason, whether it's violent or even natural causes, we don't know how to cope with life and issues. So I would say to fathers, whether it's your biological son or whether it's your son through marriage, the same care, the same support should be there, and allow yourself to also grieve, because people are looking at you like you don't care, you don't know, but it's not about that. You as an individual must get your own steadiness and your own bearing and your own commitment to your Lord to allow him to speak to you, to know in this season, what should I be doing? And that's one of the other reasons we came to express giving back to other young people, because we've lost one. So I would say, give your heart to God and allow him to change you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We want you to know that there is a number at the Attorney General's office that you, family members, can call in assistance with knowing how to do the Victims Impact Statement. You can call 1-800-228-3368. That's 228-3368. And you can also call directly if you have a loss and you need to bury your loved one and you don't have the money. The Attorney General's office makes available up to $27,000, and it is in various areas. It can help with the hospital bill, or help with the burial, help with the funeral. You can call, or housing. Thank you.
Counsel.
Oh, counseling.
What helps with counsel?
Okay. And so Kimberly Murray with the Attorney General's office is 312-814-2468. That's 312-814-2468. And we also have a very good relationship with the Vitas program. And would you like to give... you tell them? Okay, all right. And then we have a good relationship with the Bobby Wright Mental Health Services. Dr. Severe is one of our good friends who has really inspired us. And so please know that you can call and be healed. Wanda, before I go to the piano, because usually I end with some song for everyone. Would you like to say one last thing before we do the song?
Oh, one last thing would just be to say that your son lived as long as Jesus did on this earth in its bodily form, and that's a real blessing right there. 33 years, that's an absolute blessing. And I'm just thankful, guys, that I got to meet both of you. Thank you. Pray God's blessings upon you, and that His peace will carry you throughout the rest of your life.
Thank you.
Amen.
I'm going to dedicate this song to all of you and all of you that are listening. Andre Crouch wrote it some years ago. It's called Through It All. I've had many tears inside. I've had questions for tomorrow. There's been times I didn't know right from wrong. But in every situation, God gave blessed consolation that my trials only come to make me strong. Thank God for the mountains. I thank Him for the valley. I thank Him for the storms He brought me through. For if I never had a problem, I wouldn't know that God could solve them. I wouldn't know what faith in God could do. Oh, everybody, if you help me, I say through it all. Oh, through it all. And learn to trust in Jesus. And learn to trust in God. next week. God bless you. Thank you so much for being a part. What's the name?
Eric cut me out the front.
What name child is it?
Yeah, cut me out the garden. Yeah,
This is beautiful.
it's coming along.
This is a little prayer.
Yes.
Prayer place.
I said thank you, Eric. You know Annie Malone?
Ah, is that,
She was Madam C.J. Walker's mentor.
oh, she was.
Yeah, so everybody talks about Madam C.J. Walker, but they forget about Annie Malone. She was a powerhouse.
And she started a college?
She started the college, yes, and that's Madam C.J. Walker was her was the watch.
And she is Annie Malone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, generous entrepreneur.
Yes.
Started a college back in the 1920s, the Poro College, Hair Care and Beauty, St. Louis, Missouri. Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah, so they got a street name after her. I think it's over by College.
Here we go, Madam C.J. Walker, philanthropist, millionaire, a woman. All right.
Don't forget the young lady below that.
Now, who is that?
You're looking
Let
at
me get over
Say,
here.
say her name for we can say it on camera too.
Frances Simmons Ellis.
Frances
Oh, that's her.
Simmons Ellis. Wonderful, wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
You want to do tours? I'm sorry, is she video sound too as well, or just pictures right now? She's just doing it, not sound, right?
She's videoing, but she'll edit it out.
Okay.
These chairs safe for me to sit in?
Sure.
Sure.
Okay, all right.
You be the first one to experiment.
You better relax slowly.
Wow. I can get my hair shaved again. We are at the beautiful
Rap braids, WP.
WB Natural Hair Salon.
WB Natural Hair Salon, right on Chicago Avenue,
3441.
3441, and it is absolutely beautiful. And I think that many young people are going to learn a lot about the business of hair, braiding, and etc. So this is great, and I'm just glad that we could come and tell you about it, and you come, be a part of it. Young men can learn how to use their hands in construction. Young ladies can learn to use their hands with helping you to look beautiful. Thank you. Love in action.
Thank you for coming by.
Glad to.
We need more recognition on multiple levels for the task that's at hand. And to get young people.
She donated that to us.
This is their security.
Yeah.
Anyone that comes in, they see this, they're gone. Good night. I've had many tears and sorrows. I've had questions for tomorrow. There's been times I didn't know right from wrong. But in every situation, God gave blessing